pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes of January 19th?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, if so, I'll ask for a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I will second that.
Motion from Mike, second from Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve this set agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Guests in open forum. We have a few guests this evening. I'm going to go ahead and welcome the Sherburne County Attorney's Office for their annual report with Ms. Heaney. Good evening.
Good evening. I would like you to notice my new wear.
Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Very
I
nice.
was late
And
to
you
advertise.
you may remove it in order to present if you'd like.
Oh, thank you
If
very
you feel.
kindly. I appreciate it. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time. I always do feel so welcomed when I come up to Becker. It's such a warm reception, and it really makes me feel good, so thank you. Last year in the Sherburne County Attorney's Office, we actually had a retirement of my chief deputy, Sam Wertheimer. He had been with me for 16 years. And we then took a look at our office and we did some reorganization. We now have a lead in the civil division and a lead in the criminal division. In the civil division, it's Tim Syme. He's working with me. And then Dawn, who's here, and I'd like to introduce you if I may, is our criminal lead. If that's all right, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I should know better than to wear hoops and mask, but then it stays one way or another. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dawn Nyhus. I took over that lead in the criminal division this fall, but I've been in the county attorney's office for about 13 years now. So. Hopefully, I'm a familiar name and face, and if not, hopefully I will be now. And any questions or things that you might have otherwise drawn to Sam Wertheimer's attention, feel free to give me a call, and I'm happy to help. So, nice to meet you. Thank you.
As you know, the Sherburne County Attorney's Office carries the contract with the City of Becker for the prosecution of both the petty misdemeanors, and the enhanced gross misdemeanors. So I took the opportunity to find out some background information for you in terms of our case numbers. The City of Becker had referred 53 felony cases to us in the year of 2020. You also referred 35 gross misdemeanor cases. With the Sherburne County District Court itself, you had filed 456 cases that our office will be handling or have handled in the last year and continue to handle. As you know, under the terms of the contract, what happens is that the prosecutorial portion of the fines is then passed back to the county attorney's office to recompense us for the time that we serve on the agreement. Last year, we received the sum of $7,850.21. Those were the fines that came back to us. Overall, what I can tell you in terms of our case numbers countywide is we did see a 14% increase in the number of felony cases that were filed with our office last year. At the same time, and not surprising to anybody, with COVID, we did see a decrease in the number of both gross misdemeanors, and petty misdemeanors. We're presently working through the restrictions that the Supreme Court has put in place for us in terms of COVID and how to handle cases. I've actually learned how to do Zoom meetings now and can do them generally without too much difficulty. So we're working through our backlog with the district court. They've been wonderful partners in that, trying to address the cases that are out there in the system. And I would be very remiss if I didn't end my short presentation with my extension of appreciation to the chief and his crew. They have always been very professional to work with. If ever there's been a question or an issue, I always feel like I can pick up that phone and have that conversation, as does my staff. And that level of professionalism speaks very highly, not only of the chief and his crew, but of this community. And on a personal note, I'm glad he didn't leave, because really, this is all about me. But Chief, I'm glad you stayed. Anyway, so that's kind of a brief overview of what's happened in this last year. If you have any questions, we're certainly happy to try and answer those.
Have you been doing cases on a regular basis, or has it been kind of held off because of COVID?
Well, it depends upon the case type and during the period of time. For example, when they first put the restrictions in March, we had about 3 months that we were unable to do anything other than what they would call emergent cases. For example, if we had somebody in custody, we could bring them up. If we had a child in need of protection that they needed an emergency protective hearing on, we could handle that. But everything basically kind of went to a standstill beyond that. They then backed off on the restrictions. At that point in time, we were able to handle cases mostly by Zoom, but we did have about 4 or 5 trials that we handled during that time period in one grand jury. Then recently they went back again to being more restrictive, where they're not allowing, without special exemption from both the Chief Justice of the 10th Judicial District as well as approval of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, to do in person. There have been some exceptions to that, but we have not asked for that yet in Sherburne County. So right now we're under more restrictive. So what's happened is all of our calendars went from being in front of judges, where we would literally shuttlecock between the courtrooms and the judges. And now what they do is they set them every 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon the case type. And we try and roll through the calendars. What we found is we're handling about half of the number of cases that we did when we had in-person calendars. That's about right for the statistic, right?
So backing up, is that what you're saying then?
Yeah, so right now we're in what they call Zoom hearings, and so we handle our court calendars through Zoom. But we're not being able to get through as many cases in a day or in the court calendars. So we're seeing that backup continue to go on, so. We just keep plugging away. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did, but I have one more.
Yes,
So the
sir.
number that you gave us,
Yes, sir.
is that gonna increase as time goes on, or is that the cases that you're gonna be dealing with?
The 456 case filings that went with the district court are cases either that we've processed through already or that will be basically in the hopper, because we continue to go through the cases as we go through.
So that number won't increase it.
I anticipate actually if they start lifting more of the restrictions, we'll see that case number go up, because as I identified, our gross misdemeanors, our misdemeanors, and our petty misdemeanors, those numbers have been compressed in the year 2020, and I attribute that directly to COVID.
The reason I was asking, I was summoned for jury duty and I,
good.
and I didn't have to go. I was a little disappointed.
We got a good one.
Mike, I was too. Was it like the beginning of January?
Yeah, I just finished my
Ah,
2-week, I called in twice and
Nice.
everything was settled out of court, so.
Well, he's retired, pick him.
Yes, I
I've
appreciate
been,
it.
yeah, I've been called many times, but I've never gone. I've never been called to serve. I've been put on jury duty like 4 or 5 times, but never have gone in to even interview for a juror.
Well, obviously, we have good taste.
I thought it had to do with the voting record myself.
Okay. Well, that could be it too. Did anybody else have questions for me?
So how does that work with, when you say right to a speedy trial, and you get a backlog like this, is there a certain point where you have to dismiss a case because you're just not able to get it in front of say a lower priority case? Is there a date?
We haven't yet. What they try to do is they try to prioritize the cases. So those individuals that have, say, a felony speedy trial will go first. Then the speedy trial demands they try and get those next. But right now, the trials are basically on hiatus. So as soon as they start reopening, those go back to the top of the list. There is a court order that allows us to do that, so that they basically kind of suspended the rules regarding the speedy trial. but justice delayed is justice denied, as they say. So I'm hopeful that we'll see more openings with the court and that we'll be able to do a better, handle more cases. Wonderful question. Thank you for asking. Well, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to pick up the phone, ask for either Dawn or myself, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you for coming.
Right, good night.
All right, continuing on with guests in open forum, we'll welcome Farm Friends Barn update with the very busy Jean Johnson.
I have to have a note card, otherwise I'll talk too much. Kathy, it's great to see you. She's one of our very, very good fans of the Farm Friends Barn and has been with us for a long time, so. Anyway, just a minute, I have to follow Tony's instructions here. And I think this is just gonna start scrolling, I'm not sure. Oops, where is he? I do know a little bit. Not this.
Don't do that.
Oh, now I lost
Uh-oh.
it. Where is Tony?
He's coming. Just
Is he? Tony, you should have never let me touch it. I told him I'd be calling him. Oh, it's Simple Jean.
Right arrow.
There we go. Thank you. Okay. So, evening, everyone. I'm very happy to say we've had a very, very productive, exciting year at the barn. This photo happens to be when we set the barn on the property outside of Becker. And if it goes through again, I want you to just make note of how it looked. So then after that, we started with, there it is. Anyway, after that, we started getting some volunteers and we started, we got our building permit and we started the task of living up to what the building permit really required, which was a bigger task than I had ever imagined. But anyway, so going forward with that, I just want to say that I have an amazing crew of volunteers that have come forward and helped. A lot of it right now is with carpentry work. But as this photo shows, we did find a building out right by Cable in St. Cloud. We needed some siding to match the barn. I've driven by that building for, what have I been around here, 40 years? And all of a sudden it's like, that siding will work on our barn. And so I got a hold of the owner, kind of not the owner, because the owner is a gentleman named R.D. Offit. And so people on my level do not just call up R.D. Offit. So anyway, but I did get a hold of some operations people and they said, go for it, go ahead. So I had a crew of 7. We went out and in 2 hours we had all of the siding off the barn or off the building, and we went back and we put the siding on where we needed it. So that was so cool. Then our next task was to actually set the barn down permanently. What had occurred is, anybody can imagine this, which of course I couldn't, when you have an old building and you measure it, and then you have a foundation that you've measured, they aren't gonna match. No. And I'm not gonna tell you where it doesn't match because you'll never notice it. But a couple weeks ago, we hired a barn restorationist who come in. He jacked up the area, he filled in the remaining blocks, he set the barn, and then we had our volunteers of carpenters and even a few extra people. We went in and we put braces in, put extra screws on, we went upstairs, we re-screwed all the areas that were reinforced previously, and then we called for our final inspection. So, in a picture, you're gonna see Craig Wensman and I, and that is on the day that Metro West, there it is. They approved our final inspection. So there's the finished product for now. It's now in its winter months, and in the spring, we're gonna start at it again. What I also wanna say, though, is with this one picture coming up here, there's something very special in there that I wanna point out. And it's gonna be this next photo. You see lights on there? I have turned those lights on and off probably for the 20th time. When I drive by that barn, I just want to go in and turn on the lights because now we can use it. Now we have lights and the lights work, and we have electricity, we have power, we have an outside outlet, we've got an inside outlet, and Conexus and Hubbard Electric kind of bent some of their scheduling stuff to do that for us. The county's been amazing. The city people have been amazing. We recently, in December, we had a fundraising, last minute fundraising project. A farmer had given us $10,000 and asked that we match it. We matched that. We matched that by the end of December. Now we have $22,000 more in our kitty. The other thing I want to point out is we do not, and I've said it before many, many times, we are not getting any loans to do this, and we have not. And we have done great things. And just another thing that I want to point out on the barn project is that we're trying to raise money now to put the milk house back on. The barn originally had a milk house. We have the foundation ready. We have everything ready except for the funds to finish that. Once we finish that milk house, then we can proceed with the egg exhibits, getting things finalized inside, moving on to what our original plans were. But for now, we are able to maybe have some classes this summer, maybe depending on the restrictions, maybe classes on what to plant or ideas on gardens. We could have canning classes in there. We could have 4-H in there. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. It is now at the point we can use it. The other thing I want to mention is, and I haven't forgotten it, and Greg can attest, he can sit there and shake his head up and down all he wants, but I have not given up on the Clary Olson barn. The Clary Olson barn is out on NSP property, and Excel is being kind of a stinker. They're going to be tearing it down. I'm guessing soon. I'm not privy to that information, but I'm guessing pretty soon. I did go ahead and I called Bonco 2 and I said, hey, you know, if we can have anything off that barn, you know, maybe Excel and you guys could work together. Because mainly all the stuff in that barn is recycled, you know, recycled or donated. There also is a barn out in San Diego on County Road 3. Some of you might recognize the name. It's Stuart Sherman and Lillian Nelson. Stuart Nelson was the son. He sold it to a gentleman named Eric Valling out. He's had it for about 3 years. He is going to be tearing down the Stuart Nelson barn or the Sherman Nelson barn. And he has given us anything we want from that barn. He's got 2 cupolas. He's got windows that will fit for our windows. Some of them are brand new. He's got some doors. He's got some wood. We just have to go take what we want before they tear it down. We also have the opportunity for a barn cupola that's absolutely stunning. That is in Elk River, and I'm not sure if anybody here is going to recall I can't remember but it's the Moldenauer Farm. And if you go on Main Street, it's kind of like the River Road. And then you go by the dam going towards the city of Elk River. There was a farm site on the left, and there's an old red barn there with a dairy addition patch to it. A friend of mine actually purchased that, and he's offered the cupola for us at no charge. That would be a great way to connect Elk River to Becker, by the way, just in case you hadn't thought about that. But anyway, there it is. That's the way it stands right now, all sealed up, snug as a bug for winter. There's good things are happening. I know that there's been some people out there maybe using this as a photo opportunity, which, is perfectly fine, Becky, but I have not seen the photos yet. Trust me, you're not alone. You're not alone.
I was yelling at the cameras too. I'm like, I can be here. I got approval.
But any of the city employees here do have my email and contact information, so if you wanted to share them, we would be happy to see them. Anyway, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I thought that the Clarion Olson farm, the buildings belonged to the Olsons, I thought.
So I'm gonna say this. I might not be exactly correct on the dates and the times.
They have to have it out of there by a certain time?
I think I'm on camera. I believe it was 3 years ago. But like I say, that's.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yes.
I mean, they're out, but, I know Scott was trying to find something to do with the buildings.
Right, they donated it, they contacted us probably,
Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
We have this one.
Has it been 3 years already?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, but I believe it's been 3 years since the official.
oh, okay.
But I know that Excel has been very accommodating with them and giving them additional time. I don't know where it's at right now, but I've been in contact with Excel regularly. Like they say, Gene, don't you sleep? And I say no.
Okay.
But since the family can't have their wishes to have that barn carried on somewhere else, I guess I look at it as, well, we can do something as a tribute to them with, maybe their cupolas or some other things.
Yeah, there's other buildings in the house too. I mean, there's
Correct, yeah,
quite a bit there.
yeah. And the house is somewhat of a unique opportunity also. I've been out there and I went out there, the company that moved to our barn, Nancy had asked that if we could go have him do an estimate for them. And some of the buildings aren't movable, so.
Right, no, yeah.
Yep. So, we are planning on a few fall events, maybe something in October, November, December. September, October, November, December. Maybe, like Santa at the barn, It was a pretty cold one a year ago, but, you know, we could do it again with some heat. Maybe something over Halloween, and then maybe even if anybody knows how to square dance, wouldn't that be cool? I think that would be really cool, especially if COVID ends. We'll have it outside. I mean, the chief here, he's gonna even come out. He told me that earlier. You gotta be quiet when I'm around. I pick up on a lot of things.
Square dancing with the chief, is that what we said?
Isn't that? Oh my God, we could have a fundraiser. I'd make millions. That's a good one, Mike.
I'll pay to see
Anyway,
that.
lots happening. It'd be an excellent opportunity for everybody to get past the COVID thing, have something good, something really good happen out there. Kids, adults, have a kids square dance session. Yeah, and I also want to mention that I've been in contact with a Eagle Scout that needs a project, and he has contacted us, and I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled. What a great thing to do. So we'll be working with him on that, and just stay tuned. Any questions?
Is it insulated?
Pardon me?
Is the barn insulated?
It is not, but we're not going to air condition it. We're not going to heat it, because our intention is maybe use it for storage in the winter. But on the inside, and you'll be able to, you could see that we had to take some of the boards down on the inside for the building inspector. So it's been discussed maybe putting some insulation in there, maybe not fully, but insulating some of it, because it probably will help in the long run in the fall.
At least on the ceiling anyway.
Yeah, and well, we still have some openings too that we've covered up that from the squares that the movers had to use to put the big I-beams in. So there's opportunities to put some stuff in there. So, anyway,
Well, thank you, Jean.
oh yeah,
Thanks for the update.
we could even square dance with the mayor.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking big money here.
I'm thinking the chief will bring in way more money than I would, so.
All right, well, thank you for listening, and hopefully you're sharing in the excitement that we all have.
Definitely.
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to committee reports. The Fire Relief Association. I believe that's Connie Robinson that's been appointed from our city, so. How about budget and finance?
Budget and finance, so we, let's see, we talked, there was a golf, inventory down at golf, being the off-season here, we, in the past, I know in some years we do spot checks as part of the audit, but, in the past few years now, we've started doing, full count audits, so, there was, one completed down there recently, no discrepancies, so. Kind of speaking of the audit, the preliminary audit was here recently. They came in and did the preliminary work that they do. They'll do some spot checking. They do some different. I guess it was all remote, so they technically weren't here. But they usually come in and do prelim stuff, and that kind of preps them for the audit, which I don't remember when the exact dates are. It's usually the end of March, early April. I don't remember the exact dates on when the audit are, but preliminary work is done there. Let's see, also, being it was our January meeting, so the numbers we were looking at were the numbers through 12/31, so through the end of the year, but still preliminary, so if you do see the numbers, just know they could still move, because, there still could be, items coming in for payment, things like that, so the numbers could move a little bit. But looking through from a revenue and expenses standpoint as a city, we were, sitting to the good, so a little over 100% revenue, expenses were about 95%, so definitely on the right side of where you want to be there. And specifically, we've been following the BCC especially, that's been probably the hardest hit of all of our city entities, you'd say, but from COVID, that was the hardest hit. And that one, staff has been working really hard on that to, make sure we can shore up our numbers there as close as possible, and that one is recovering quite nicely. They're still gonna be down a little bit, so we'll see what the final numbers come in, but not near, I guess, I was expecting worse, let's say that for right now, so. Anything else you can think of for finance?
No, golf was plus, community center down some. I think that was it.
Okay, how about Park and Rec?
You wanna take that? I had to leave early.
Yeah, I can do that. We looked through, just kind of recapped the 2020 projects that got done, including the dog park and the Carly Johnson playground replacement and signage and some of those things. And we previewed some of the 2021 projects that may be coming before us, including a splash pad and pickleball courts and a full court basketball court. We touched on how the community center is operating in COVID, and they're making do, and the senior center is progressing slowly because they're not quite ready to get at it. And we noted that the warming house had reopened and skate rentals, and people were happy.
All right. Joint Powers Fire Board.
Okay, we just met last Monday. Everything's going good. We just, elected our officers. We took a donation of $200 from Minnesota. That sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm like trying to read my own writing. We talked about calls. There was 509 calls total this year, which is actually up from last year. And then that truck that we're getting, the final inspection is gonna be, gosh, in a couple weeks, the 21st, 22nd, around there. And then about 3 weeks, it should be here. So there'll be a brand new truck for the parades, guys. It's very nice. Tracy got to see a little sneak peek.
I did, yes, today. All right, how about the Planning Commission?
Planning Commission, so we met, last week, so we elected officers. I'm gonna be the chair of the Planning Commission for another year. We typically prefer that, somebody not on council do that. Nobody was really willing to do that, so, so I took that for another year. Mary Jo is gonna be the vice chair. She didn't feel comfortable stepping in. She was just appointed this year, so she didn't feel comfortable stepping into the chair position just yet, but she said she would do the vice chair for this year and then possibly be your chair next year. We did some discussion around some zoning text amendments, specifically some more discussion about the building heights, having to do with like garage heights, things like that. Quite a bit of discussion. There'll be probably a little bit more discussion and some action yet to come yet on that. So I think currently right now the peak height is something like 17 feet, and we've had some builders requests or homeowners through builders request that those heights go high, higher. So we're looking at that, and there's at first glance you might think, well, we'll just change the 17 to 20 and move on, but there is a little more to it as far as pitch and is it an attached building, is it detached, things like that. So lots of details, but we are talking through those. Also briefly just talked about the discussion of a racetrack, and it's one of those kind of the way planning and zoning works is that you have to specify where certain facilities can go, and if you don't, then you kind of open them up to being able to put them in a lot of other places. And so we think about a racetrack, and so just we had just some modifications as far as what is the definition of a racetrack, things like that, stuff that we probably really haven't considered before, but you have to have it in there. So we had some discussion on that, and then we talked about the comp plan a little bit too. So
Right, how about the Golf Committee?
Golf committee, we reviewed the year end, and we went over some forecasts, et cetera. We also, Josh created a really unique little piece here, and he called it 2020 by the numbers.
On your screen.
It's up on the TV screen there, I'll just go over it quickly. We had 33,362, that's the number of rounds played, most in 14 years. 135 days restaurant and food was forced to close, which obviously was painful. 8,889 number of golf balls sold. 55,835 number of beers sold.
I think that's a song.
246,373 dollars lost due to COVID-19 on events, et cetera, that we lost because of the COVID. That's a lot of money, $250,000. 28,534 chicken wings served. 4,440 number of masks purchased, and 64, as he put, the number of amazing employees who worked. I thought it was kind of a neat little thing he put together. And then we went over the pond restorations, what's happening next. Evidently, we got the map from, or whatever you want to call it, from Northern Metal, where they had built their pond, and we're going to use that for lining and some of the ponds, so we'll prevent any leakage. We took a look at the deck, that's just coming out spectacular. I don't know if you've been out there, but it really looks good. And we discussed a little bit about the potential expansion of the clubhouse for simulators. And anything important that I missed?
Mm-mm.
Pretty much it. Oh, it was Josh's birthday that day.
Oh, yeah, it was
also.
Josh's.
I do have a question for the council. On our new member for Park and Rec, does the council have to approve that, or is it just approved by the committee?
It usually comes through on the consent agenda with council.
Okay. That's all I got.
All right, any other committees that we missed? All right, we'll move along right into the consent agenda. Mr. Brzezinski.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you. Please take note, we do have a revised consent agenda for this evening. So for February 2, 2021, item number 1, hiring and termination reports from the Becker Police Department and the Becker Community Center. Item number 2 is a donation acceptance, and that's from the Becker Lions, and that's resolution 21-08. And the addition to the agenda this evening is item number 3, and that's a contract. It's an agreement for a place called Shoes for Crews. Important to us because we want our employees to have work shoes that have good grip, so we can reduce the number of slips, trips, and falls. This is an agreement that we'll sign on behalf of our employees. It's actually a employee paid project, but we actually sponsor it. So we have to have an account. They go, they select their shoes, they pay for them online, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what that's all about. If you have questions, I'd love to answer them. Otherwise, a motion to adopt the consent agenda for February 2, 2021 would be appreciated.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as revised.
I'll second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Payment of the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Any discussion on the bills? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anniversaries for the month of February, we have quite a few. Tony, our administrative support specialist, is celebrating 2 years with us. Christine Olin, the accounting clerk, is celebrating 4 years already. That seemed to go by super fast. As well as David Ryberg, he's a police officer, and he is celebrating 4 years. Michael Behringer, the wastewater water operator, is celebrating 21 years with us this February. And Chris Kroll is also a water wastewater operator, and he's celebrating 3 years with us. And last, Robert Rearson is a wastewater operator, and he's celebrating 16 years. So there's quite a few anniversaries happening down at the wastewater treatment facility this month. So congratulations to all those folks, and thank you. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:54.